naturally would come after E in the alphabet? F. And what comes after F? And how many up? Two. And what comes after G? Because there ain't no H.
Nope.
There ain't no H.
There ain't no H.
And how many is A from G? Well, it comes after A.
B.
How many is A to B? And B to C is 1. And C to D is how many? 2. And D to E, which is the octave, is how many? 1. D to E.
2.
Or A, B, C, D, E. Yeah. D to E is what?
And then from E, F is
Oh,
So there's your octave.
Isn't that a great guitar lesson?
But when you combine these two, A, B, C, D, E, you now know 2 ways to play an E. There's an E here, and there's an E here. There's an A here, there's an A here. So once you combine those 2 things, all of a sudden the fretboard makes sense.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
2
Never
steps,
did before.
1 step.
If you have the
So all
word
it really
E,
comes
E,
down to
those
is
are the one
remembering the
steps.
pattern of your fingers, the shape of your fingers. I shape my fingers this way when I want to play this chord. And all I have to do to play the other chord is bar, these 3. You can do it with this finger, this finger, this finger, whichever has the most strength. Or you can do the traditional way and play all 3 strings with 3 separate fingers. Okay. But the reason that I teach people to use this finger for this chord is because when you get into barring chords, which means you're moving, this little bit right here is called the nut, okay? The E is the E because the nut basically is like a 0 fret, okay? And the fret is these metal things. What you're doing when you're barring is you're just simply moving the nut up using your index finger as the nut, okay? So if the A is 2 away from the nut, then when I start to bar, I'm only spreading by 2, okay? That's the bar. So it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. So my finger becomes this. If I'm starting here, that's 2 away from this. The reason that I show people to begin using this part of your hand is because this becomes your bar, your nut. And most people's hand strength is such that they really struggle when it gets into barring. The easiest thing to do to gain, you don't really need a lot of hand strength to bar. What most people do is they play the guitar really lazy. They sit back like this, where their elbow's not in play, where they'll lean forward and rest their elbow on their knee. Don't want to do that. You want your arm out, you want your elbow free because you want to be able to move your shit around.
Right.
Okay? The other thing, when you're playing a guitar, a lot of people are back this way. You keep your wrist cocked back. Loosen it up because if I'm playing like this, I'm really gripping here. Okay? Or if I'm playing like this, I'm really pressing really hard. But if you just roll your wrist forward slightly, like a quarter to a half inch from what you're accustomed to, you are automatically pressing into the string. I can play bar chords without even holding the neck. Just simply roll forward. And you get less hand fatigue that way. Because a lot of people get tired of playing guitar and frustrated with it because they're gripping the shit out of the neck because they got their wrist too far back. And at first it may seem awkward to have your hand that way, but after a while you get that looseness and it feels really comfortable and you're not grasping the neck so hard so you don't get such hand fatigue, which is really what people give up on playing guitar because my hands are tired. Yeah. But that's where you start. And once I get that in people, this 3-note, lay your finger across those 3 strings, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Then I go into this mother of all chord configuration, just bing, 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 okay? fourth, fifth, third, or fourth, fifth, third. The drill that I tend to show people is play this E chord over and over, but change your fingers. So you're going to be playing E like this, then you're going to move these fingers into the same pattern. Instead of bing, 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 it's bing, bing, bing. Okay? And then switch back and forth between the two. It's a good drill. You start out slow and move up in speed, going from this to this, to this, to this. And the reason that I show them this and that drill, it builds up hand strength, number one, in terms of your fingers going from E this way to E this way, E, 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 E. But when you're playing your bar chords, this is what you're going to be using, because this becomes your nut. Okay? So when you're playing an A bar, if you don't want to play this A, that frees your index finger up to be the nut. But there are going to be times you're going to want to use this finger pattern to play your E, because that leaves your pinky free to do E7s.
All the fancy.
Yeah, all the fancy stuff.
Start in the beginning. This is great. I'm gonna just bar everything.
He did put it in. He
You
did
know,
put it
so
back in.
it's really the mechanics and just patterns.
He did put
And when
that
you
in.
start to think in terms of, okay, it's simple, it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Oh, really?
I want a copy.
Everything else falls into place. Because when you start to think, okay, well then what's an A minor? Okay, here's an A. On an A minor, you're using the same pattern that I just showed you with the E. You just drop it down here. These chunks of strings, same thing, just different strings, just the next grouping down. Okay? And you lose this note, goes down here, and you've got an A minor. So where's the B minor?
Up, two.
And the C minor?
One.
And the E minor? E minor? F minor?
One.
Okay.
That's so cool.
Same thing with this, when you're playing your mother of all chord configurations, the E. And E minor, you're doing the same thing. You're just sliding it down one note. So it ends up just being these two strings. Okay, so where's an F minor?
Yeah.
Where's a G minor?
That's amazing.
So ultimately, this pattern you can put anywhere on the guitar and not be wrong. You know, you're going to make a chord.
That's a good sound.
So you do that, that's your E major. You drop it down to here, and that's your A minor. Or you bar it, and that's your A major.
Wow. They're very simple. It looks simple when you're doing it.
There we have it,
Right, but
Steve,
in
the
terms
guitar
of-
man.
In terms of knowing where shit is, it makes it easy to look at a fretboard now and go, oh, that's what the dots are for, and it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So all I really have to know how to do is this or this, ultimately. There are other chords that you get into later that kind of fuck up the teaching method initially.
Oh, we